welcome back to Not Just Numbers, the SBNG experience. I'm Yesenia, the Firm Culture and Branding Ambassador, so I'll be asking all the questions. We have a really exciting episode today where we'll be covering everything tax, but in a fun and non-intimidating way. We want this episode to be informative and show that SBNG isn't just a great firm, we're a cool and approachable one too. So whether you're here as a client, an aspiring accountant, or just somebody who's always been curious as to what happens if you mess up on your taxes, we've got you covered. Let's jump in. Joining me today is one of our tax shareholders, Tyler Smith.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do this.
It's great to have you. So, can you introduce yourself and tell us something fun about yourself or maybe something unique?
Sure. So my name is Tyler Smith. I'm one of the tax shareholders. I have been with SBNG since 2011. And something interesting about myself. Let's see. I am one of those weird people that I take a cold plunge every morning.
Every morning?
I've been doing that for, 2 or 3 months now.
Wow.
It wakes me up, gets me excited, kind of gets the endorphins going, and I feel good the rest of the day.
Like cold, like with ice or just...
So it started out with buckets of ice, and that got old really quick because it was just hauling around pounds of ice. So
Yeah.
I've kind of made a new setup. It's basically like getting in a giant Yeti cooler.
Okay.
With a chiller, and it's 48 degrees.
Wow.
So it's like 3 or 4 minutes about every day in 48-degree water.
Wow.
That's weird, right?
Interesting. It's a little weird, but that's interesting. So let's kind of start at the beginning. Where did you go to school?
So I was born and raised here in El Paso. Grew up on the west side, went to Western Hills Elementary, Moorhead, and Coronado High School. Growing up, I couldn't wait to get out of El Paso. I thought this was a boring town with nothing to do. And so I went away to Texas Tech. And during college, I had a great experience. I loved being away. But also, the reason I chose Texas Tech was that it was, one, it was a good school and I wanted to go. But two, was that it was just far enough where I could get away from El Paso, but not far enough to where if I wanted to come back home on the weekend or something, I could. And so I took advantage of that every once in a while. But after I was away from El Paso, I started to learn and appreciate all the wonderful things that this town has to offer. So after college, then I went to Dallas, bought a house in Arlington, Texas, and I worked there for a couple years. I was in the car a lot. I was stuck in traffic.
Oh, yeah.
And Dallas and Fort Worth and Arlington and Plano and all those places have so much to do, but I was working too much and had a young family, and I didn't really didn't get a chance to do a whole lot while I was out there.
Yeah.
So my priorities changed. Like I said, I had a young family, was ready to get back and be closer to my parents and my wife's parents, and honestly, that's the best decision I've ever made, was coming back home, and never look back. I love El Paso. I appreciate it. I love to be a cheerleader for the town too.
Yeah, of course. It's great to have you back in El Paso. Okay, so when you were in school, in college, were there any classes or programs that you really liked?
Well, so focusing on accounting, right? I started school to be a stockbroker. I was in finance degree. I thought it'd be super cool to be a Wolf of Wall Street, trading hotshot in a suit and all that cliche stuff. I thought that was going to be me. In the business program, of course, you have to take accounting 1 and 2 principles. And as I was sitting in the class, and it's a weed out class. It's definitely hard. People who have to get the business degree have to get that program, have to get that course behind them. And I was sitting there just acing it. It was like, this is easy. And then I looked at the person to the left of me, I looked at the person to the right of me, and they were just over their heads. They had no idea what was going on. So I was like, well, shoot, I guess maybe there's something to this. Maybe I'm meant to be an accountant. I don't know. Because definitely no one grows up thinking I'm going to be an accountant. It's not exactly an exciting job.
Yeah.
The stereotypical, push the glasses up with the visor and the bean counter. It's not something you plan on. But It happened, and so I took that class, and then the next class, and I thought, okay, maybe there's something to this. First summer back from school, I was at home. My mom at the time was actually going to UTEP, and she was getting her accounting degree. I honestly, to this day, don't know what made her choose accounting for her degree. But she was, a return student. She had never done it. Something she wanted to do her entire life was get her degree, so she chose accounting. she was good friends with one of the UTEP professors, and we were home. We had dinner with them, my parents and this professor, and in about the course of 15 minutes, she talked me out of going to school for finance and talked me into accounting, and mainly it was for job security. And I'm extremely grateful for that because I would have graduated in '08, and that was right before a very big stock market crash. And I'm sure if I was the intro staff employee, I would have been the first to get cut. And so here I am, what's the old saying about death and taxes? So
Yeah.
I've always got a job in accounting.
Well, that's great. And so when you were in school, did you join any organizations, any clubs?
Yeah, so I looked into the, I guess, Greek life for a little bit.
Okay.
Really wasn't my cup of tea, wasn't my style. Uh, but I did end up joining it. It was called a business fraternity, so it's Alpha Kappa Psi. It was a great organization. It was right up my alley. And so, I had Greek letters and a Greek heritage, but it wasn't the stereotypical sorority
Right.
fraternity kind of thing. It was more focused on networking, meeting people, getting opportunities, and growing that. And it ended up being a really great life lesson for me. Joining that, moving up the ranks, serving on the executive board, learning public speaking, all that good stuff. So it ended up being a really good program, and I'm very proud to be an alumni.
Oh, that's really interesting. So I know we mentioned that you've been with SBNG since 2011.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So what was your starting position here?
So I started my career in Dallas at Ernst & Young, and when I came back here, I think I started officially as a senior was my
Okay.
title. I already had my CPA license, and it was a shift of pace of what I was doing, but at Ernst & Young, but I leaned into it, picked it up quickly, and was able to get promoted, within a year, and then a year after that, and then a year after that. And before you knew it, I was in line for partner. And I guess my mentors and bosses saw something in me, and they helped me to lead my career to where I am today.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're the youngest. You were the youngest to become a shareholder here
I
at SBNG.
I made that claim for like a solid 3 years, but then Teo took that reins
Oh
from me.
no.
I know.
So
He snuck in and took it from me.
sad. Well, that's so cool though. So now let's get to the nitty-gritty, taxes.
Okay.
I guess plain and simple, why do we do it?
Why do we do it? We do taxes because Uncle Sam says we have to. Um, it's in the constitutional law that everybody has to pay their taxes. There's a difference between tax of evasion and tax avoidance. If I'm doing my job right, I am making sure all of our clients pay exactly what they're supposed to, but not any more than that.
Okay.
It's complicated. The tax law is very confusing, and so I've found a career in understanding that confusing part of it, and giving our clients advice and helping them file to make sure that they do. I mean, I don't want to say the bare minimum, but that's really what it is pay what you're supposed to, but not a dollar more.
Right. Okay. So what kind of information is typically included in a tax return?
So, at the simplest level, right, the general thought is everything that you earn, that you get is income, is taxable. That's the general rule. And then, of course, our job is to know that where there are exceptions and exclusions and things that are not income and or things that you can reduce those things that are taxable. So, you go out, you get a job, you're working as a Starbucks barista, you get a wage and that's taxable. Well, if you get tips, that's also taxable. And Uncle Sam wants a piece of that, so you've got to report that on an annual basis. There's deductions that everybody gets. There's a standard deduction to reduce your taxes, and there's other avenues and things that you can reduce your taxes through things that are totally illegal. And it's our job to make sure we know what they are and make sure our clients are taking advantage.
Okay. So speaking of deductions, I know I was confused in this sense too. I've always seen deductions as something that, oh, if I deduct this, I can get more money in my tax return. But I guess I've been told that that's not true. So what is a deduction and what does it do in our tax return?
So you're not wrong. I mean, that's what a deduction is. A deduction is things to reduce the total amount that's subject to tax. I love the clip from Schitt's Creek when he's talking about it's a write-off. Well, what's a write-off? I don't know. It's a write-off.
It's a write-off.
So a deduction is things that are allowed in the IRS code that says that you can reduce your income with this. So, for example, if I am self-employed, I can reduce my taxes by taking legitimate trade or business expenses, what's ordinary necessary. So, what's an example? Let's say I am a consultant and I get paid by companies to consult on projects. Well, if I drive from my house to that company, that mileage is deductible. That gas is deductible. If I use my cell phone for business purposes, then part of my bill is it is eligible to be deducted. Where people get in trouble is when they say, okay, I use my cell phone, it must be deductible. 100% of my tax bill, 100% of my cell phone bill, I can deduct it. But let's be honest, I mean, we scroll Instagram, we scroll TikTok, we use it for personal email. It's not all deductible.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of deductions, I guess I want to ask you really quick, what's the craziest deduction that's been requested of you?
Craziest deduction. Gosh. I don't know that it was my client, but I remember it being part of the firm. It might actually be Imelda, so maybe you ought to ask her about that. Their job, they were influencers, and so the Instagram influencers. So what's ordinary and necessary for Instagram influencers? Well, playing the part, getting your hair done, nails, going to the barber, suits. You had to play the part, and some of those things were business deductions as long as it was only for business. So trying to think if I have anything more specific than that. That was a good kind of far out there.
I know I've heard one where she told me they asked me to deduct her Louis Vuitton bag.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that that's impossible, but for that to be deductible, right, it's got to be ordinary, necessary, and really and truly it was for business and no personal. So if my clients have a legitimate reason, I'll hear them out, but it's my job to be a little skeptical and make sure I'm going to put my name on the tax return. I'm going to make sure it's legit.
There you go. Alrighty. So talking about taxes, now let's go to the scary part. If we mess up, what happens?
They come knock on your door and drag you out of bed.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
No, it's really not that bad. So everybody makes mistakes, right? That's kind of an adage that's around the office that I say that a lot. Everybody makes mistakes. It's important we just learn from them. But when it comes to making a mistake on your taxes, let's say that I worked 3 jobs last year and I forgot to report $100 from one little tiny job that I did. Well, generally what happens is the first thing that's going to happen is a computer-generated notice. So the IRS gets copies of W-2s. Same thing that I, as an employee, get copies of W-2s. And if the two don't match, then a computer says, this doesn't match. I'm going to mail out a notice and say, Dear Tyler, you didn't report this. We assess this tax as what you owe. Okay. That's the reality of most cases, that our clients see. It's just an honest mistake. There's a difference in an honest mistake like that and just, okay, I've got to file, I've got to fix that error and pay back the tax and some penalty and interest for not doing it. And there's a difference between that and, egregious negligence, purposely doing it, and that's where the penalties are a lot worse. But luckily, our clients don't do that. At least if they do it, then they're really good at hiding it from me, and I don't know it yet. But that's where it gets in the criminal world. But for the most part, it's not that bad.
Okay. So say somebody forgets a W-2. They
Mm-hmm.
forgot they worked somewhere and they forgot to give it to you. Is there a way to fix it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So like I said, if you realize it before the IRS does, and even if it's before the deadline. So let's say I filed my return on February 15th.
Okay.
I haven't filed an extension, but on April 1st, I realized I left that one out, right? I can just refile my return because it's before the deadline.
Okay.
If it's after April 15th, then it's past the deadline, and I need to amend my return. It's a 1040X, and you say, Dear IRS, I left this off, mea culpa, and here's the tax I owed, and here's the check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Simple. And so let's clear up some myths, I guess, give everyone the answer. Will the IRS lock us in jail and throw away the key if we mess up?
You'd have to really, 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 really mess up to do that. And on purpose, right? Not just mess up. No, they're not going to do that.
Okay, good. So now that we're done with the taxes, clear, there's a little weight off our shoulders.
Okay.
Let's talk about SBNG a little
Yeah.
bit. What's your favorite part about working here at the firm?
You know, it always seems like kind of a cop out when I say this, but really it's the culture. I think we differ from the accounting industry, the public accounting industry in general, because we really do value work-life balance. It's not just something that we put on the website that we can check the box and say, yes, we do it. Really and truly, we know that we've got lives outside of here. We want our employees to be happy, right? A happy employee is a productive employee. And if we're making you work 80 hours a week year round, you're not going to be that happy, right?
Right.
I don't care how much you love your job. And so finding that balance. And so when, our overtime hours happen during busy season, I would put money on it that our overtime hours are less than some of the competing firms in town. Because there's only so much good quality stuff that you can put out if you're working at 2 a.m. on, donut holes and coffee. So it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I'll, speaking from experience, it really is true, because as I was coming up, I had my mom got sick with cancer, and the firm was super supportive. They helped me to balance doing all the things that come along with being an employee, being a son, and then me being a father to my kids. I was also coaching their t-ball team. All of those things go to life, right? And we understand that there's a balance to it. Yeah.
That's really great. I agree. I love that about SBNG. So let's end this on a fun note. Tax advice, we get it everywhere. Everyone has something to say about it. So what's the craziest or most misleading piece of advice that you've come across?
Most misleading, and I hear this a lot, is just create a company, create an LLC, and you can write off everything. Again, it's a write-off. Not true, right? We already talked about it. It's a little bit of, it's got to have a legitimate reason why you're doing this and what is your business. If I decide I'm an influencer and I got, my wife and my kids and my mother are my followers, I'm not really an influencer, it's not really the same thing. But if I do some consulting and I do this on the side or whatever, I've got legitimate business expenses. But just by creating a company, it's not that you have carte blanche and write checks left and right and lower your taxes. You got to have a real reason why.
Yeah, there you go. So this has been a really great conversation. Hopefully we've made taxes a little less scary for you, and this insight has been helpful. Huge thank you to Tyler for joining us today. Before we wrap this up, is there anything else you want to tell our guests?
You know what? Just that I love that we're doing this. I think it's a great opportunity to show students, future employees, the El Paso community, the accounting industry, kind of who we are and what we do, and I'm just excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, well, thank you again for joining us. To everyone out there listening, thank you again for listening to our podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at SBNG CPA. We'll be back soon with another episode, so stay tuned.
Thank you.